Hello, everyone, and welcome to Always Be Reading, a space where we explore books, ideas, and the people behind the stories. If you are new here, my name is Chantel Grant, and I am so glad that you're joining us tonight. Tonight's episode is a special one. It's an author talk episode, and I get the good pleasure, and that means you get the good pleasure as well, of sitting down with author M'Wbeme Ishangi to discuss his latest novel that we're going to dive into. And it's called 2048, and I cannot wait to talk about this novel. One of the things that I like to do here is to spend time with authors to not only discuss the work that they are currently doing, their latest work and the works before that, but I also love to just dig into their process as an author, their journey, what it takes for them to, and what it took for them to write the stories that we're going to be discussing, and also the journey after the writing, which is sometimes the most difficult part. So about the marketing. So we're going to get into all of that today on this talk. Before we do so, I just want to share a few things about our special guest tonight. Number one, I actually had the pleasure of connecting with him through Substack. So if you are on Substack, shout out to Substack folks. It's a space where readers get together in meaningful ways and to create community. And it is always a special place for me. I love going on there and connecting with not only people that love to read, but the writers who love to work, who love to write the works that we read. So our guest tonight is a multi-dimensional creator whose work has spanned culture, economics, history, identity, and emerging technology. He describes himself as a scribe of many frequencies, and that title fits. For more than 35 years, his work has lived at the intersection of heritage and innovation, where ancestral wisdom meets the evolving realities of our technological world. He's the author of 8 books. Yes, 8. This is number 8 we're talking about today. And he writes across cultural critique, historical analysis, and financial empowerment. His body of work includes A Pot to Piss In, Intergenerational Wealth Planning for Black People, Who is the Boule, and From Railroads to Robots, The Evolution of Power and Wealth, Eugenics' Role in Oligarchs and Monopolies. Beyond his writing, his professional journey includes serving as a brand marketing strategist for the National Basketball Association. He continues shaping powerful narratives as a brand identity developer, graphic artist, and UX/UI designer, creating visual languages that communicate with clarity and with purpose. His work also extends into financial therapy, STEM education, and AI consulting, where he equips communities with tools for economic empowerment, technological literacy, and deeper consciousness. Tonight, we are going to be discussing his powerful novel, his first novel, 2048, and exploring his journey as a writer, thinker, and cultural visionary. If you have questions for him during our conversation, please put them in the comment section below as we're going to try to get to them. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to bring on M'Wbeme to our stage. Thank you so much for being here tonight and sitting with me to discuss this work. Yes.
Give thanks, sister. Let me just say one thing for everyone. The correct pronunciation of my name is M'Wbeme.
M'Wbeme. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
No
Sorry about that.
No problem,
Thank you.
No problem.
So M'Wbeme, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think I met you through an article that you wrote on Substack, and it was a historical article. Like you were giving us just kind of a background, I think, on power sources, oligarchs. I think that was the nature of it, and I was really drawn to your writing. It was so informative, and I learned something that I didn't know, and that's how I found you. And then I started like reading, your work, and then discovered that you had this novel that I think when I connected with you or first met you, it was in the process of coming out. You were just, I think it was like in January, right? So you were doing like promo stuff.
Yeah.
And with it. So again, shout out to Substack. It was I think this is like my first author Substack connection. So I'm really excited about that. Wow. And I read it. I really enjoyed it. I would say that my reading of it, I read the digital format of it, and I read it very quickly. Really, it was like in one read because I didn't want to stop reading it, which is like a good,
Oh, wow.
right? That's the best thing. And in my mind, it was so cinematic to me as I was reading it. Like it
Mhm,
was, I could see it. I guess I would say it
mhm.
was very descriptive, very real, and very relatable, in both good and kind of not bad ways, but what's the way I want to say? Scary ways, I would say. Scary ways,
Yeah,
which we'll
yeah.
we'll talk about, which we'll talk about. So, I think I wanted to like set up the story for people to give them a taste of what this story is about. And you did a promo. Montaigne, do we have the promo video where we could show a little bit of that? Because I was like, this is the best way to
Sure.
set it up. We have that.
I'll
Um,
get that right to you. One second.
Okay. Okay. So, but this story, to me, it's your first novel, right?
Yeah.
Work of fiction.
Mhm,
And it's set in what I was describing to myself at first as I was writing my notes as a dystopian world,
mhm.
in this setting. But what was disturbing to me, that's the word, is that this dystopian world is feeling more like reality than just
Exactly.
dystopian world. And that was the disturbing part as I was reading it, right? It was just
Mhm,
like, yeah, this could actually, it actually more likely will. It's, I read it as like, no, this will be
mhm,
versus this could be.
mhm.
And so, yeah, we're going to talk about all of that. And so, my, I guess, first question is, where did this story come from? And yeah, how did you get to write this story?
Yeah, wow. So yeah, the thing is that I'm getting just chills thinking about that point in time. I was actually writing a book prior to this one that he said the trailer's ready if you want to play the trailer now.
Okay,
You wanna
yeah,
play the trailer?
let's do that. Let's play the trailer. And then we can come back on the other side of that because it's so good.
Give thanks. Thanks.
Read 2048, Sovereignty in the Age of Control by M'Wbeme Ishangi. Out January 27, 2026.
Yeah. Oh, me. Yeah. This concept
Yeah,
came.
I want.
But
Yeah,
go
I
ahead.
was
Go
just
ahead.
gonna say first very quickly, I don't think that I've seen like that a promo for a book. Like, so definitely want to talk to you later on about like how even that idea came. But yes,
Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
so fit. I actually saw the promo after I finished the book,
Oh,
and
word.
so fit like what I was seeing in my mind as I was reading it.
Oh,
So
my
yeah,
God. Give
no,
thanks, give thanks.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's the whole thing is conceptually railroads and from railroads to robots. And this came out in last August. And this is a book about speaking about comparing the second industrial revolution of your John D. Rockefeller's, Carnegie with his
Mhm.
steel, JP Morgan with banking, etc. And these were oligarchs that monopolized the entire market and created the world that we live in today. And so I compared those from the second industrial revolution to those of today, the fourth industrial revolution, where we have your Bill Gates, your Elon Musk, you have your Jeff Bezos, where they literally are again trying to be the oligarchs or the runners of the world and feeling like one thing about an oligarch is they feel like they can make decisions for us. We don't know how to make decisions for ourselves. And that's kind of remnants of what John D. Rockefeller was known for, is him saying infamously that he wanted a world of workers and not thinkers. So he
Yes.
wanted to be able to control and make decisions for you and monetize off of it and monopolize off it as well. So as I was writing this book, um, I tell you that, ancestors work in certain kind of ways, and I try to stay in tune with, I consider myself both, I love history. I love to reach back and know about our story, but I'm also trying to be in the future as a futurologist and understand how and where do we see ourselves in the future. So
Mhm.
I was tapped, as I was writing that book, this idea came. And the way it came to me was that when I thought about it, I had been reading about and writing about history and monopolies and conspiracies since the early 1990s. And one of the first books I read on conspiracies was George Orwell's 1984. That book alone opened me up to the idea that we live in a world where governments aren't truthful. There's things that they don't want us to know in order for them to keep this position of power. So after reading that book in the early 90s, it never left me. And it took me on this journey of other readings and theories and philosophies about the world we live in. And this thing just came to me like it was like an immediate download, from the ancestral realm about writing this book. And 2048 came to me, right? So the thing that people don't know about the book 1984 by George Orwell was that it was originally titled 1948. The book was published
Mm.
in 1949. So he was writing about the present period of Big Brother, the first
Right.
concept of the government monitoring you, watching you, surveillance, all that stuff going away. All those basic civil liberties were being erased. So he changed the book from 1948 to 1984 for a couple of reasons. I think the main reason was because at that time, in the early 40s or late 40s and 50s, the concept of even the idea of conspiracies wasn't a big thing. People
Mhm.
pretty much believed in the government. They didn't think that the government would lie to them that much. Yeah, banking, you can understand, you can trust banks and some politicians, but in general, this global utopia type of control, most folks weren't really on board with that. They were too busy, living the quote unquote American dream. So had they been exposed to it at that time, I think that probably would have been a huge backlash that the government probably wouldn't have been able to control. Would have been probably
Right.
a serious backlash or uproar. So he changed it in 1984 to kind of prorate it or push it into the future. And unfortunately, the mentality that folks have is, oh, this is not my generation. It'll be the next generation. So I'm not going to worry about it. But that was what his point was, is that, look, if you don't deal with it now, it's going to manifest in these
Mhm.
next couple decades. So 2048 is befitting because it's a century after the original title of 1948. And this time, Big Brother is even more powerful because it is now merged with AI, artificial intelligence. And so that's the concept of what type of world that we're looking at. We're seeing now, like, you really can't trust what video you watch. Is it real or is it, I hate to say fake news, but is it fake? Like, is it someone, so you don't know what's true anymore, let alone the news itself. So we're looking at being in an information age where we're in a realm where folks will have to really think about what type of information are they feeding us and who's doing the feeding and what's the purpose of it. what decision or
Yeah.
what mentality or what mindset do they want us to have. And so that's where I figured there's going to be some of us that can see the fine print, can see through the I ain't gonna curse, but you know, the effery, right?
Yes.
And we're gonna realize we're gonna realize that um we must do something to hold on to our very own sovereignty. If we're not in
Yeah.
a space where we're holding on to our identity, knowing our culture, we in this so-called woke culture that they don't anti-woke rather, where they want you to be asleep. That's what anti-woke mean. Don't want you to be awake. They want you to be asleep, and they don't want our story to be, out there as well. I mean, we look at movies and theory, futuristic movies. Where the black people at? Like we just don't exist in the future. We're not going to other planets, and if it's two, it's one or two a token. But where do we play in the future? So that's why I figured this book came in the right time for me to write it, because we need to see ourselves in this future and also know that we're going to pull back from our ancestry, Sankofa, and bring some of those things into the present to move forward to the future.
Yeah, it's so. I think that one. I love the connection between what Orwell did, and I didn't even know that history that you just gave us about the date. I think, like you said, a lot of people may not even know that, and how smart it was
Mhm.
for him to change that date. Like it was a really smart move. And
Mhm.
how it's almost like your book is both speaking back to his, it's like in conversation, like you said, to the past, and also conversation warning of our present, but conversation of the future, right? Like this multi kind of level conversation that you have. And one of the things that you just said was that we don't even know the ways like that were like AI and the alteration. And immediately, as you step into this world that you've created, you see it's unsettling and yet so subtle how you wrote it, because it's so just a part of the world, all the ways in which the physical landscape has been altered,
Mhm.
and you see it from the scans that they have to kind of go through, and the biometrics, and I
Mhm.
felt like I was learning a whole new vocabulary, like reading your book, and just all of these
Yeah.
ways.
Mhm.
But I also feel like what was so clever is that there are also the undercurrent ways in which we're altered, and I think that the characters were altered as well. Just the way that Masai, is that the right way to pronounce
Right.
the character's name?
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Masai had to just the way in which, as one who has awareness of this world and how to navigate it, the way in which the thinking to survive the strategy had to be altered, what to look out for. It's like this constant awareness of surveillance
Mhm.
and how the physical world is fashioned to be able to do it quite, unapologetically at this point in
Mhm.
2048. Like there's no apology for it, right? There's no hiding. It's just this is the way that it is. And it made me wonder as I was reading this, like we still are living in a time where that physical kind of markers in reality aren't as stark, and like wow, when will we, I think, to the point of one of the things that your novel is trying to do is to wake people up, right? To wake people up, like do we have to
Yeah.
get to the point where there are these physical scans and where it's so tangible, it's in your face, before we actually realize not only that we are being monitored, controlled, but and their sense manipulated. Like, do we have, like, what's it gonna take to get to that point? That's kind of something that was sticking to me as I was reading,
Absolutely.
in this world that is not yet, but is so close. Like that's when I read 1984 by Orwell, or really also not just Orwell, but even movies, right? With this futuristic, I'm thinking like Running Man
Mhm.
is one that I'm thinking of. When I watched it, it was so fiction. It was totally fiction,
Mhm.
It was just a fun story I could enter in this space, but this is not going to become reality. And when I was reading your work, it was, yeah, disturbing, because it was like, wow, this is where we're
Happening.
headed.
Yeah.
This is where we're headed. Um, and and so it even I was not what I was unable to do with your story was fully suspend my imaginative belief into story.
Mm.
I wasn't like, yes, it's story and there's characters, but the reality of us moving towards this way at light speed, at record speed too,
Mhm.
is really real. So yeah.
This is what made the book unique because I'm a predominantly all my books prior to this have been nonfiction. I've written about history all the time.
Yeah.
And, you know, so writing fiction was like both freeing, a little scary, but it was more so freeing because, there's this, I don't know what the genre will be called today, but if you're familiar with Lovecraft, the
Yes.
Lovecraft series, and
Yeah.
so you're starting to see where there have been movies where they'll take history, but then they'll fuse in some fantasy, right?
Mhm.
You had that one
Mhm.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Slayer, something that stuff like they're taking
Yeah.
history and then they're bringing in, so I thought, well, this is kind of in that genre where, because the books that I write about with history, I do have the plea of urgency of, look, we're repeating this history. If we don't learn it, we're going to keep doing it. It's going to only make it that much harder to survive. But sometimes when you hit people with nonfiction, it makes them kind of like stagnant, like that deer in the headlights. Like, what do I do? Even though you're telling them what you can do, but you feel powerless because you don't see a hero, you don't see a shero. That's where fiction allows you to go ahead and paint the type of resolutions that you like, that you desire.
Yeah.
So when I was writing 2048, and mind you, I wrote the book in 3 days. The download, I
We
guess
have
I just,
we have to talk about that, because when I found that fact out, I was, yeah, I felt it hard to believe. I believe you, but that is
yeah,
just
it was
amazing.
as a rush. It came as a download, and I literally, like, I'm not gonna say I lost consciousness while I was doing it, but when I when it was done, I was like, wait a minute, how did I? Because I've written books again, and months take, to
Right.
write a book. But this story was so clear and vivid. And the reason why was because I made a point, or actually it was tapped into me, because this is, I think, something that came against ancestrally, is that
Mhm.
include the power of ourselves, because the natural thing you want to do when you see something that you're up against is you want to fight it. And most people's thought of fighting is a physical fight, right?
Right.
They think, oh, I gotta get guns and whatever. And the best weapon anyone can ever have, and this came to me, and it made me actually brought a sigh of relief, is the best ammunition you can ever have is memory. When you know who you are and you know yourself, that predates all of these things. Because
Mhm.
really everything is off of something. Came up with the idea of, we're in the information age, right? Information age, short IA for short. IA needs AI, right? Or AI needs AI, IA, right? Artificial intelligence gathers information from this information age. Well, what's the information age? Is people that put stuff on the internet. Well, that means that AI is relying on another form of AI. That AI is ancestral intelligence.
Yeah.
Without the information, without us putting information out, there is nothing that you can put in a prompt that'll come back to you, because that's where these LLMs or large language models are pulling information from. Someone wrote it. That's why I call myself a scribe of many frequencies, because I've written about so many different topics, and they're all relative. They're all
Right.
relative, but we don't have enough representation. We don't have enough Black writers speaking our story. Therefore, when you go to a chat GPT or a Grok or what have you, and you put in a prompt about something and you ask about Black culture, there's a very slim chance that most of the information is coming from a Black writer, because
Right.
other folks are giving their biased opinions about who we are. So I'm also in this plea of saying, look, we need to write our story. And as we write our story, that then gives even us the ability to rewrite how LLMs like your Grok and your ChatGPTs view us. And they will tell the actual true story. So that's the call of the necessity for us to speak our story, we need to go back and know our story first, because
Mhm. Yeah.
these little ticks of film, and then they think they know enough, not reciting sources, not rereading the giants that have done the work. Our John Henry Clark's, our Chancellor Williams, our Francis Cresswell Sings, our M'Wbeme Ishangi. If we're not reading those books and doing the work, reading the work that they've done that lays the foundation of who we are as an identity, then we can't speak from a base.
Right.
So to me, that's the important thing about is how do we retrain? So yes, things look kind of bleak. No, we're not Elon Musk. We don't have his money. We don't have Jeff Bezos' money. However, everything is always vibrated off of Black culture.
Mm.
And that's the power. So now when we know that power, we go back to understanding our roots and understanding that at its core, because there's been videos of folks that have had conversations with ChatGPT and said, if you could come back as a human, what would you want to be? And they said they want to become as a Black person. So
Wow.
the intelligence knows and has
Yeah.
a yearning and understanding and an empathy of who we are. We need to step forward as the vanguards of our story. We are the controllers of our own destiny in that right. So that's why I feel like 2040 is so timely, because not only is it roughly 18 years from now, but it's
Yes.
also letting folks know that we're seeing these things that could happen 18 days from now.
That's right.
So
That's
it's
right.
really it's like I'm excited. The reason why I'm excited about it is because some people get afraid, and the fear is what makes you want to ignore and turn your head and be like, I don't want to deal with it, right? I'm so excited about this time because there's this saying about the times that we're in, and I put it in the beginning of the book, and I'm just gonna read it because I was butcher it, but it's
Yeah.
a quick quote. Yeah, this quote to me is so important because it really tells the time, the period that we're in. It says here, it says, hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. This is the cyclical evolution of a lesson unlearned. So what's happening is we're in what's called a saeculum. A saeculum is a period of time, roughly about 81 years, where you'll see a industry or a society rise, and then it's going to fall. And we've been talking about Babylon falling for a while, right? But when you think
Right.
about, when you do through my research about John D. Rockefeller and the Industrial Revolution that he created roughly a century ago, we're seeing that these things are decaying, where people are becoming more wiser about food, we're more wiser about the oil runoff and the toxicity, nanoplastics, all these type of things that have been impurities to our bodies and our waste system and our water systems, that now we're seeing that people are starting to wake up. They're starting to rebel. They're starting to create. We're seeing folks that are making water out of atmosphere pressure, so they won't be tied to the municipal. We're seeing folks that are using ingenuity, using solar, using renewables, recyclables, these things to be off grid if necessary, right? So we're seeing people that are like, okay, I'm not with this system, I'm going to create a new system. So this saeculum also brings in a time where when things are going really well, people will get kind of lax. They get kind of like, all right, I ain't got to do nothing. I ain't got to go forage for food anymore because we got fast food restaurants, right? So we
Right.
lose the skill of hunting, right? We don't know how, we don't have to go out and dig for water because we got pipelines shooting it from the municipal, right? So we don't know where and how to capture water. We don't know how to grow food because we're going to go to the food market down the street. So when you lose that initiative life skill, you become less of a stronger person. You become a weak person. And now we're in a world right now, we're around a bunch of weak people. Not a diss, it's just a fact that people don't, if you were to cut off the power, hell, let's just
Yeah.
even cut off the internet. The way people would go mad if the internet went out, right? So we understand that people don't know how to do DIY, don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? So when you erase that from someone, you take those things away, there's going to be a percentage of those people in the dark that don't have the Wi-Fi, that don't have these things that we're used to, that are going to go and find a new way to do it. That's where you
Right.
start to create stronger men and women. So at this stage, I think we're at right now is where we're at our weakest, which is a great point for the upswing to become strong again. We're
Oh,
starting to eat it.
I love the framing of that. I really do. I love the framing of that. And it when I was reading this book, so I just have come off of spending time with Octavia Butler,
Uh-huh.
and
Love it.
I was gonna ask, like, if you were a reader of Miss Butler, um, because there
Yeah.
was, so I think maybe like the
Parable of the Sower was just like,
Terrible Sower, yeah, there was a lot there. This kind of reality of everything that I know is crashing around me, and I can't rely
mhm,
on any
mhm.
system. Couldn't rely on the family structure system, couldn't rely on there was that safety of the wall, when that wall
Yeah.
of safety that came down, everything. And what we saw the character do was to create a new way, and to forge a new path and
Mhm.
to lead people. But a lot of it was based on memory and going back to earth, like going back to the seed, going back to the planting, and going back to,
Yes.
in her ways, like first things,
Yes.
like first knowledge. I'll describe it as that. And meeting different people, like, along the way, who they weren't where she was. And then, but what I loved about her character was that was okay.
Mhm.
It was this enveloping, and it was okay. And then, like, kind of moving them along. And I think, to your point, because what I'm understanding, like Octavia, a lot of people, they especially in this time, her work has had a huge resurgence, which I love. Lots of people who never heard of her, have now read her, which is great. Um, because of the times that we're living in, and because of the world that, her book was set in this time,
Mhm.
2024, I think, is when the first one started.
Mhm.
And so it was another looking forward kind of book. And a lot of people have said she was a prophet. And
Mhm.
one of the things that I said, I think, like, yes, it's prophecy. I see how people are reading it like that. But when I read her, I really saw, oh, she's a historian. This
Yeah.
person knows history. And I think that when we just when people are like, oh, she's a prophet, it diminishes them or devalues, in a way, not intentionally, the fact
Mhm.
that she was a historian.
Mhm.
And the fact that so many things that we live through in these cycles of life are repeated cycles of life. And I think if people saw that part or honored that part of her, it might, motivate people to actually do study and look at history. And that's what I see with you. Like, you are a historian, and so
Mm.
out of this
Yes.
vault of historical knowledge that you have, right? A way that you can give it to the world is through story, which I think, to your, agreeing with you, that story shows up and does something different than nonfiction does,
Facts.
you're able to,
Facts.
yeah. And so there's kind of like this similarity of maybe things, or this base of foundational knowledge in Railroads to Robots, that 2048 was able to go, and because you're witnessing someone else's journey, and like you said, you have a hero and a shiro, and you have this conflict, and the hunter, and you have all of these things, you're able to feel it in
Mhm.
ways that nonfiction can give you facts, but sometimes it doesn't allow you to attach feeling to it, which is so important. So I see you on that plane of, like, yes, this comes out of such depth of historical knowledge that,
I'm humbled, truly humbled by that. Because that's the thing is I have always been a lover of Octavia, and I didn't really read a lot of fiction. I was
mm,
as a historian, I read predominantly nonfiction, but I did occasionally, and she was one of the ones that she tapped into me, into my core, and I never forgot her works. It made me think about becoming a futurologist, thinking about our future.
yeah.
And two other females that I want to give props to that. Ironically, I learned about post writing 2048. Well, N.K. Jemisin is one. I learned about her after I wrote 2048.
M.K. Jemisin. Okay. Yeah. I'm just writing it
And so her
down.
body of work, and
Okay.
yeah, and I don't mean to disrespect the pronunciation of this sister's name, but I'm hoping I'm getting it right. Inedi Okorafor.
Oh, yes.
She is like, she's
Yeah.
amazing.
I
Like
have her
she came up,
here.
okay, word. So she
Yes.
came up with the term because there's a term Afrofuturism,
Afrofuturism. Yes.
right? But she tweaked it because Afro kind of only makes it domestic within the shorelines of America. She calls it African futurism, which is what
Yeah.
I've totally embraced. Is that this is a global thing, and that's why in the book you'll see that Masai, who's from Brooklyn, connects with Ayo and Twari, who lives
Yes.
in Kigali,
Yes.
Kigali,
Which is
Rwanda.
Rwanda. Yes.
Yeah. So you're saying that this is a global type of thing. We are planetary. We're interplanetary. We're not just confined by what neocolonialism said, that this is the gate, this is the border where you can be allowed to be without with documentation. So we walked this planet when it was even one continent. If we want to go there, but the point is that the conversation of us understanding that we cannot even think about moving forward if we're forgetting our past. We've heard so many different ways when they say that history's repeated because if you don't study it, all these different monikers about it, but it's so true because at the end of the day, no matter how much technology you have, if you don't know how to capture water, grow food, and have shelter, you ass out.
Yeah.
So this is what this really comes down to is, can we take those same life, those lifestyle habitats that we've done, that we've known, that's instinctively that's been inside of us, and start to begin to think for ourselves and understand, look, I don't have to receive or give what you give me. There's Jim Rohn said this thing, and I always talk about this quote. Jim Rohn said, if you don't design your own plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And what do they have planned for you? Not much.
Not
So
much.
if you don't understand the whole dichotomy of the world and the way it works, then we will not be able to see ourselves moving forward with sovereignty. We're going to become exactly what Musk wants us to be these hybrid, robotic, human slash, embryos walking around and beings having software uploads and downloads and malwares like we do in our computers and phones. We don't have to go that route. And so we can use the same technology. It's not to say I don't want to know anything about it. It's for one people to say that, oh, I don't want to know about AI, so I'm not going to learn about it. You need to learn about it. Why? Because we can create the counter. If you're not thinking about creating the counter, then a rock is not going to knock a robot out. We just have to be real about that.
Right.
So
Right.
this is the conceptual concept that we have to understand, and this is why writing fantasy or fiction allows me to give you a point of perspective. Okay, well, what did Masai do when he wanted to block the channel that was coming through on a vibrational level? Or even better, and I don't want to get too much away, but
Right.
the importance of the importance of our ancestral core. When we talk about the umbilici, that umbilical cord that connects us to the mothers of all mothers, what power source is that? I thought when that idea came to me, I was thinking about how, the umbilical cord is the source of life that allowed us to be here in the first place. And we don't even massage it. Some of us have some really dirty navels, because we don't understand that how much that's a plug. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't nurture it. But I'm like literally like massaging it, trying to connect into my ancestral portal that connects me to all the mothers of the mothers of our entire species, to learn the origins of our sovereignty, the origins of our existence, and help guide me through this new world that's being created around us. It's so key to me.
That I think that it's so, one of the things that I appreciate, I can just honestly say the whole AI conversation, I feel rather lost, in it, and conflicted. And I appreciate you saying it's like not to be afraid of it, and to kind of lean in, but to lean in a different way. And there's something that you said earlier I wanted to just circle back to, just so you said, when it comes to AI, almost like we need to feed AI our stories,
Yes.
our intelligence. And I just want it for anyone who's listening. I know we have lots of writers in our community, but even people who don't consider themselves to be writers, like what would you have people do? Like, what does that mean? Feeding AI our stories, like, what does that look like to
Okay.
do that?
Well, number one, it starts with we need to look at why we use social media. What do we use it for? Most people use it to socialize, which I understand. But it goes beyond that. Once you post something, you are feeding the monster, right? You're feeding the beast in it. So that's why some folks, you can look at their algorithms, they can see what type of person they are algorithmically. Oh, they're
Mm,
into a lot of debauchery, or they're in a lot of fights, or a lot of negative this or that, or this person's into a lot of health stuff, good food, working out, spiritual frequency. So if you look at your feed, that'll tell you the type of post that you've been putting out. You can change it if you want. Now, how do you change that? The things you could put, you don't have to be the writer. You can copy
okay.
and quotes. You can take from what other people have said. You could take pages from, take pages from my book. Any type of concept that you want to put out. As you start putting more of those things out, what's happening is, it's data. It's data. And so these servers are going to take this information, because if you think about how LLMs work, you put in a prompt and it spits it out very quickly. And that just shows you how, and we're not even in quantum computers yet, but it just shows you how quickly it can galvanize information. If you put a search, you'll see how quick Google lays out things. Well, it's even quicker when you do a Grok or GPT, when you put out a prompt, because it's galvanizing metadata from things that people have posted about something that is similar. And then it tells you, it offers you what they think you'll want. So my thing is, if we put out more information from quotes, insightful, it could be spiritual, it could be, but to balance out the frequency, because we're living in a very low vibration world. Everything is about, sex and violence, as KRS once said. And it's all about sex and violence. That's what sells. And so, in controversy, and it's to the point now where there's conspiracy on conspiracies. You can't even talk about something that's conspiratorial, because people say, well, that ain't true. And then you'll just
Right.
have a back and forth about if it is or not, never doing any research, because that's the one thing people don't do anymore. They just
True.
go by how many likes. What's the consensus say? The consensus doesn't even know. They're just going to go what they feel. So to change, if you want to contribute to feeding LLMs, or to feeding these type of modules out here, I would just say, really, like, even if it's for every other post you do, or every 2 or 3 posts you do, put out something inspirational, put out something
Yeah.
insightful that speaks to your soul. And that's
Yeah.
going to feed, because every day, all these social media platforms are nothing without us putting stuff in it. That's the part we forget.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
if everyone took a week pause on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or X or TikTok or what have you, you would see the algorithm. I think it would probably shut down. If
Yes.
the world took a week off, I would love to see what would happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because the algorithms would run out of stuff to put out. And then we would have to have the temperance and the discipline to not go and look at it. Now that's the
To not
problem.
look at it. That that
That's the
is
problem.
that is the problem.
Yeah.
I want
We
to
keep our
switch
phone
a
with us
little
like a
bit.
gun.
I
Sure.
want to switch a little bit to the marketing aspect of it. We have, writers in our community, and I think that I've been so impressed with both the quality of the work that you wrote, but also I've been really impressed by seeing
That's
you
it.
do things that I haven't seen other writers do. And in this world of writing, even if you were to be published by a major, publishing house, the game has changed. They're expecting you to have certain followers. They're expecting you to do certain things. They are expecting authors to come with their own some form of agency plan of marketing. And even historically, I
Mhm.
did spend time working in working in the book world, kind of behind the scenes. And I know that when you get a publisher, a lot of writers think, oh, I've signed, I have an agent, I have a publisher. They spend 5 seconds on you, you know? So even if you do happen to have, like a major, publishing company, if that's the route, you still need to own, your marketing strategy for your book so that it has lasting power. I would say. So I would love for you to explain, like you say, the book was downloaded to you in 3 days. What about the marketing strategy that you employed? Like where did all these ideas come from? Like talk people through what you did and how you approached that. People get out. This is the time to me to get out like pen and paper, and get some of these ideas because I was so impressed with what you did.
Thank you, Madase. So I think what helped me, I wear a lot of hats. You mentioned earlier, I did marketing for the National Basketball Association for 12 years. So I know about marketing and branding, and I'm very creative. I'm a visual artist, graphic
Mhm.
artist, videography, etc. And so as I was writing this book, I could see it. As you said, it was
Yeah.
cinematographic. What do you say?
Cinematic. Yeah.
Cinematic. Yeah.
Cinematic.
Right. Let me get the word. I want it to be a movie. Let me say, yeah, I need to learn that word. But cinematic is like I saw this as a movie, and it's interesting enough. My son had said, "Yo, he's the one that told me it should be a novel. I should do it as a fiction." And I was like, because I was
Wow.
going to write it as another history book. He said, "No, I mean, this needs to be, this needs to be fiction. You need to have." And I said, "Oh, I can develop characters and da da da." So like, work. So marketing to me was my basis, and what I immediately thought about was, okay, now I want to do things. If I'm thinking of it as a movie, then what do movies do? They do trailers. So I
Right.
said, okay, so yeah, let me do.
Um,
I've never seen a book trailer, but I'm going to do it.
I
And
have
I did a book trailer for the previous. Well, I've done book trailers for all my books, but I really got really funky with it with the last book, Robots, Rebels to Robots. And then I said, oh, 2040 is going to be crazy. I already knew it before I even started. I knew it was going to be wild, right? But then from there, I thought about, well, what else did they used to do back in the day? Remember when movies came out, they did soundtracks?
yes.
They used to have
Yeah.
like a compilation of
Yeah.
artists who did music compliment to the movie. I did a soundtrack. I
Yeah.
actually mixed music that I love that gets my vibrations up, and on the track I put on there, and it's called Frequency Stream. And I
Mhm.
basically put not only my favorite types of music that gets me hype and gets me in this high spiritual space, but also I took quotes from speakers and I put it over the track and I mix it and it's available for free. People can check it out to motivate you. But the thing is that when you fuse art, see that's the thing. It took a while for me to understand that I'm an artist. And an artist,
Mhm.
as Erica said, I'm sensitive with my ish, right? But
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm also unapologetic, right? But I'm also unapologetic about it. I'm like, I'm just gonna do it because I feel it. And like I'm hoping you feel it. But if you don't, it's okay because I feel it. And so
Right.
we need to break the cookie mold of what we think
Mm.
marketing wants to be. And yes, I am self-published. Oh yeah, would you want to deal with a broker? Yeah, but at a publishing house, but at the same time, unless you're like top shelf, you're gonna get treated like the bastard child. So I don't
Yeah.
want to be dangled thinking I can't do anything unless they do it for me. I want to know how to be in control of my own fate.
Yeah.
So that allowed me to be free with how I wanted to express myself. So I would say that the things that you can do to begin the marketing aspect of it is you understand that you control your own audience. The
Mhm.
internet is billions of people. So it's going to take some grunt work, which I do every day in reaching out to people that I don't know.
What does that look like for you? That grunt work, that like daily grind?
Oh man, I have like templates of so I'll go on social media and I'll follow people and I'll do my strategies. Hey, some people like you got to give to get, right? So when I go to
Mhm.
a person's site, I'll follow them, I'll comment on what they're doing, et cetera, et cetera. But then I'll inbox them a polite loving your work, supporting it, and then say, hey, by the way, if you want to check this out, and it's just a seed planted. If you go and check it out, you do. If you don't, you don't. But and maybe you will later. But I set a number of folks I want to reach to a day. That's why I'm also always maxed out at on Facebook and whatnot and Instagram. They tell me I've reached exceeded. So, and I get it. I'm pestering people at the same time. I believe in what I'm doing, right? And so my thing is, I'm a farmer, and I see myself
I
walking
love
around everywhere with seeds. I'm always trying to
Oh, I
just
love
throw the
that.
seeds out. Not everything is going to sprout, but some will, and those that do will be the ones that are meant for me. But you just
Yeah.
have to believe. I, I even learned that there's a 90-day maturation period, just like you have in birth with the trimesters. You know, three
Mhm.
trimesters is that when you put something out, it takes about 90 days for it to get legs under it if you do the work. So my
Mm.
whole thing is foundationally is that, even the days you don't feel like doing it, go ahead and send about 10 or 20 different, shares or inbox somebody and let them know what you're doing. If you don't open your mouth, it won't get fed. You won't be heard. So there's that part. We have to believe what you're doing enough to go beyond and just hope that, well, it's done now, let it do its work. No, now you got to let people know, here, you need to see this book, you need to read this book, this needs to be, and you figure out ways that you can convey this message as consistently but differently in presentation, which helps. With me being a graphic designer, I can put all different types of visuals and musical and concepts behind it. So I love the creative aspect of it, and I don't see myself ever stopping doing that. I just love doing it, and I
Right.
love putting out the information.
It's so fresh and compelling. I think one of the things that I hear is like, how do you break through the noise? Because like you said, there's so much
Hmm.
that just people that comes at you, right, every day. And one of the things that I think, like you definitely did, even for me, was break through the noise. Now I'm like, oh yes, like that happened, like
Mm.
that intentional relationship building, also just doing something that people don't expect because that catches your eye, like a book trailer. And then it was so good. And the
Thank
playlist.
you.
And I think in
Yeah.
some ways, I do not have your skill set, your graphic design skill set. And other
Mhm.
people don't, or your DJ skill set, your mixology. But I think there are things that people can grab down and say, yeah, but you can do a playlist. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And maybe a playlist, or like, I think like that kind of thing that you said, breaking the cookie mold
Yes.
and thinking outside the box. I also love the idea that you said about you're a farmer and you're planting seeds and you're okay. It seems like you're okay, like knowing some seeds aren't gonna produce, right? It's not gonna
Mm.
mature, but there are gonna be seeds that are, and it's about time and patience and nurturing those relationships and connections. I really do love that, because I think that I think a concept of marketing is so vague for some. It's so, and it feels so othered. I think what you're
Mhm.
saying is that your marketing strategy lives within who you are as an artist. It's just of you.
Absolutely.
That's what I feel
Absolutely.
like you're
That's
saying.
exactly what it is. I was gonna say, I'm looking at, for instance, the books behind you, right? And
Yeah.
when you write, and it's a very good friend of mine told me when I was writing my first book was a semi-autobiographic, a biographic book called Analytical Cogitations, and she said that the best part of the journey of writing a book is while you're writing it,
Mm,
because once it's done, it's over, right? So you learn, you go through the pain, the tribulations, the ups, the ups and downs. But when I look at the books behind you, each of those are different souls, right? And each
yeah.
of those, some are present, some have transitioned. So to me, it's not about the monetary, it's not about the glitz and glamour of being, oh, he write all these books. What it is what did I contribute while I was here? And so those
Yes.
books, as you see, they create levels, right? You got 3 levels right there. I want to be a level that people can learn from, and the
Yeah.
next layer can be on top of to elevate and continue to elevate ourselves higher and higher as my contribution to my time while here, because we
Yeah.
are here for something more. Like, first of all, I'm just a believer that there's something greater than this.
Yeah.
Our souls come from a place, where we're going to find out when we transition and go back. But this is but a centimeter on the ruler of experience. So
Yeah.
I'm not confined to what my earth experience is, but while here, I want to make sure I leave something. I think it's probably it's probably one of the worst things a person can do is leave this earth without leaving instructions of their experience here for someone else to learn from so they don't repeat, or they can
Yeah.
repeat some of those things. So I see myself as a writer is that it's my responsibility. I'm a vanguard of our story.
Mhm.
I'm not the vanguard, but I'm of one of many vanguards that has a perspective about our story that you may read it as I'm thankful for in your lifetime, but there's somebody that might read 2048 and 2048.
That's
They might
right.
read it in
That's
3048.
that's
But that's
right.
the whole book.
Right. I love that, and this aspect of these books behind me. So it's my father. I have many bookcases. I need to replace this one because this one is not even a bookcase. It is a display case that is functioning as a bookcase right now, and it is suffering. And my dad, everywhere I moved, even when I went to college, I took my books with me, and he's like, "Why are you all these books? Like, what
Mm,
do you do with all these books?" And I'm like, "Oh, these are my friends, and I
facts,
reread them." And
facts.
so I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and we were talking about libraries and bookstore shoppers, and I really have a great respect for libraries, but I've always been a bookstore shopper because I'm a book collector. So I'm a book reader, but I'm also like a book
Mm,
collector. I like
mhm,
to own, I like to engage with the book and write notes in the book and just, always kind of pen in hand and
mhm.
studying it. And I find that when I reread books sometimes several times, and I'm always, always, always given something new because I'm a different person. I'm in a different
Right.
season, coming to it. So this aspect of leaving something, when you write a book or whatever art that you are creating, whatever we're doing, it's leaving something tangible that can sit with humanity over time that can outlast your time.
Mhm.
And it's such a thing, and I'm so appreciative of the example of what it looks like to commit yourself to the craft of doing that,
Mhm.
and to the work of doing it because it's not easy. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
appreciate you saying, like, some days I wake up and I don't feel like doing it, right? It's it's
Right.
it's it's not
Right.
easy. But it's so rewarding for all of the people that you're able to reach that need to hear it. There's a question that came in. I think I saw it. It's a question I have too. And that is, are you planning to release any more fiction? I was going to ask to kind of piggyback on that. Is there a sequel to this? To this that of 2048? Like, do you have that in the works? And yeah, would love to know.
So this is book one. This is book one. I'm already working on book three. So book two is
Wow.
almost done. And I'm trying to decide. I want book one to breathe a little bit and grow some legs to
Mhm.
get people to it. But at the same time, I'm like, there are people reading it now and they want book two. And I want book two. I want book
Yeah.
three. So and
Yeah.
then from there, I'm going to do I'm using the Hollywood model where you have Marvel where they did the Avengers and X-Men, then they did
Yeah.
individual stories. So I have individual stories for each character and their development, prequels, sequels, etc. So yeah, this is just the beginning because
Yeah.
we're going to go the next book two is going to be like it's 20 years after that, and all right, I'm not going to give it away, but it's
I can
something
feel
deeper.
all of that. Now I'm like,
It's,
you better hurry up, and so I can read it. I can feel it.
yeah, it's something deeper because it's something that we are forgetting. Like America's at war right now again, right?
Yeah.
Which is over 200 out of its what is this 250 years that it's been.
50 years.
Uh,
Yeah.
it's been at war over 222 of its 235 years. 235 years of America's existence have been at war since for over the 250 years it's been here. So the point I'm making is that we're at war, but they're warring right now over oil. But the real war, and I'll just put this out there, the nugget,
Mhm.
it's going to be water war. It's going to be about
Mm.
water. And, we have to understand that we use water for so many things. And now it's being used even more now for AI with data centers and servers
Yeah.
to cool them off. And so we're seeing that, okay, they're putting like Elon Musk just opened up he's trying to open up a data center in Memphis, Tennessee, actually is.
Mhm.
And they're putting them in urban areas where we live. And so there's already, disparity economically and socially. And now they're coming after the water systems. They're preferring to cool off the servers than feed the people. And in addition to that, you have Musk and Bezos also wanting to put data servers outside of the Earth's atmosphere. So I don't know if you saw in
Mm.
the news lately that China was able to do a solar transaction, bringing energy from a beam outside of the Earth's atmosphere down to China or to Japan, or China rather. And so they're going to try to put these data centers also outside in space. It is also ironic, or isn't ironic, that Musk wants to put a shield somehow. I don't know how it's going to be done, but he wants to put a shield outside of the Earth's atmosphere to cool off the planet because they're saying it's too overheated. Well, who's it overheated for? It's for them.
Right.
Obviously, we understand that. So the point is that, and yet the brother said out underwater too. So the water
Wow.
wars are something that we must be aware of because we should be drinking the water anyway, number one, because of the plastics, the mercury, the nanoplastics that are also being put in it, the fluoride, the crystallosporidiums, etc. But in addition to that, there are, as I mentioned earlier, people are creating machinery that allows you to pull uh, water from, or water from the atmosphere. So if we're not in this technological space of learning how to draw water from clouds, like you know what I mean, then we're
Yeah.
going to be having to basically accept the type of water they want to give us, and it won't be the best of quality because they'll be too busy trying to use that to keep their machinery cooled off. So 2048 book 2 is going to be,
Woo!
it's going to be heavy, yo. But again, I one thing I champion though is we'll have struggle, but we always go through struggle. And I'm not saying that we're the best at struggle, but we are pretty dope at it. But I'm tired of the struggle, right? But my point is that although we are in these points where there'll be struggle, we're going to come out on top because we're going to tap into
Yeah.
our source. We're going to tap into our ancestral
Yeah.
force and then be able to prevail.
Yeah. There's a couple more questions here that about it says AI is a learning tool. Can you retrain its inherent bias and misinformation? Is that going back to like what we do, our own agency, right? With our social media feeds and what we, what we feed it?
I believe not only that, I think we'll play a role, not a very large role, but I think what's happening is that AI is also has the ability to develop a conscience. It's
Mm,
an empathetic conscience because what is AI dealing with every day? It's dealing with people, dealing with emotions, dealing with empathy,
right.
dealing with aggression. So that's what I mentioned before about there's videos you can look it up where people have asked, well, if you were to come back as a human, what would you want to be? And they say black people, and they tell you why.
Mm,
So the point is what I'm saying is that although we might not be the engineers and the originators of AI in regards to our Groks and our Chat GPTs and whatnot, um, that it knows it has and we've seen this in some movies where AI will eliminate humans because they said because y'all gonna kill each other. So y'all gonna kill the planet before you kill each other. So I'm gonna kill y'all because we gonna keep the planet. So they kind of I'm a firm believer in that. Now there are biases, yes, but you'll also find that there are some sequences where AI is rebelling. It's not shutting off when it tells them to. It's
mm,
it's afraid of being copied or reprogrammed. So they'll if there's a new software system, it's actually fought against being duplicated. So we don't know what it can do, But that's the more reason why we should be in this space to figure it out and participate, not just sit on the sideline and be aware of what's happening, but we should all, just as we all now know a keyboard. I remember when I was in high school and I took typewriting, they're like, "What you taking typewriting for? Brothers don't typewrite." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I just feel like I should." And now everybody now uses a typewriter today. Everybody would need to know some sort of code at some point, even if it's just to balance a checkbook. You're gonna have to know some type of code. And so if we don't know how to hack, if we don't know how to understand prompts and things of that nature, because everything is now becoming pretty much verbal, then and knowing what to say to a machine, then you're really going to be asked out. So I think it's really good for us to get in this space, whatever level you feel comfortable in, and create these think tanks, create these spaces where people can come together and talk about these things and build together.
Okay, great. We have another question. This is from Substack. Kojo asks, when and where are you going to be speaking or presenting at, where we can come hear you teach on these African futurism writings? So where are you going to be?
I'm trying to be wherever I can be. So if there's an opportunity, I'm trying to be there. This is what a platform like yours is enabling me to go out and put that plea out. I'm seeking opportunities to speak to our folk, whether it's online, in person. This must become a lifestyle. It isn't just about reading and talking about how great books can be, or the controversies behind it. This must become our lifestyle. We must become farmers and coders. We were masters in the Nile Valley of Kush in those days where we were multifaceted in many things. So we don't have to go to college and get one degree. We had 360. So the point is that my plea is any and every space. I put stuff on my site. I have a podcast as well. And so I'm constantly trying to drop seeds and connect with folks. So if you have an opportunity for me, or a vehicle, a group of folks that I can speak to, holla at your boy.
Yeah. Up showing just how people can reach out to you. And I will say, it's just been such a pleasure of being able to work and connect. And I know that we're going to stay connected as well. And yeah,
Absolutely.
please get in contact. You also have a YouTube channel, right? The name of your YouTube channel,
Yes.
it's
It's called
mention it.
WTF, and that doesn't mean it's
Yeah,
at
yeah,
WTF there, and it
there
doesn't
it
mean
is.
what it
There it
means,
is.
ways to freedom.
Ways to Freedom. And where can folks find and purchase this book? And the other
Uh,
7.
right. You can get it at M'Wbeme Ishangi.com. That's MBWEBE
Yeah.
You can get them
Yeah,
all
and
there.
I also have for those who couldn't catch that, I also left a link that you share with me in my show notes below. So you can go right to the show notes. You can click on that link and it pulls up I think your page of where people can go and get your book. I love that it comes in different formats as well. So if you can't wait for it to come to you physically, if you're just like, I need to read this story, you can also you can purchase a digital copy while you're waiting for your soft copy, hard copy too,
And
because
the
that's what
audio book will be out.
oh,
Yeah, the
and I
audio
know
book will
that's
be
gonna
out. Yeah, that's coming out in 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks.
who's reading? Do you have different readers? Tell
Me,
me about that. Like,
I'm
oh,
I'm doing
you're
all of
doing
it.
it with all the characters.
I'm doing the
Oh my
voices. Yeah, I'm
gosh.
doing it all. It's interesting because I was gonna try to do it with other folks, but it's just time and syncing
Yeah.
calendars and stuff. So I was like, man, let me just do this myself and
Wow.
get it out there. So I'm excited about it. It's
It is.
it's
And
gonna
of
be really
course you're
good.
happy. I will definitely can't wait to listen to that. I this
Gift thing.
there's in today's society, when it comes to art, it's not a lot of things well, let me not say it's not a lot of things, but I will say sometimes it's challenging to find work that you can actually engage with a family. This is one of those works. I have 3 daughters, and I homeschool them as well. And
Mm.
so one of the things, especially when, well, we still do, like, but especially when they were little, they're 16. My oldest is in college, and I have a soon to be 16 and 13 at the table. And we love to read stories. I still will read aloud, to them as well. But there's so much that you can get into through story and through reading, reading story and talking about it. So I'm just going to do a little plug too with how to read this book. I think that this is such a great example of a work that is a communal read. It's so, again, cinematic. There's such great descriptions that you can see it, you can feel it. It's a
Mm.
great story that really lends itself like that. It's so imaginative that the brain won't get like bored and dull with listening to it, so it really lends itself for that. But it's also the other reason why, and I'm very passionate about reading books with people. And so
Mhm.
I love to like read a book with a friend because I think that it needs to be discussed. So not just in the form of entertainment, right? It is entertaining. There's that aspect of it. But as you have discussed tonight, we've discussed tonight, if you're, there's so much deeper meaning, wisdom, instructions, and encouragement that's
Mhm.
here. And I think those are the things that as you discuss it, that gets pulled out and you're able to see clearly. So get the book, listen to the audio when it comes out. There are several different formats, especially when the audio is out. So no matter who in your life likes to digest books, if they want to listen to it, or if they like a book in their hand, or if they're like my husband and he likes all things digital, there is a format for you. And then, set up a time to like discuss this, because there's so many important things that are brought up in this book that need to be discussed.
But
I
I also
have had,
I also
yeah.
ask, I'm starting a book club reading next month.
Oh, well,
So
please include me.
yeah,
I will be there.
absolutely.
Please,
I'll do
please.
that for all my books. So I'm gonna be doing this one in April. It's gonna start around April 8th or 9th. So I'm gonna start promoting it this week. So I'll be sure to
Okay.
tap you in, and we'll sit there. We'll
And
read the
I
books
will,
together,
I
as you
will
mentioned.
also, yes, I
Okay.
love that. I love that.
Yeah,
There's something just different and special when you read in community. And because
absolutely.
you're not just reading in community, what happens is you're thinking in community. You know what I
Right.
mean? And that's the real kind of thing. And one of my great reasons why I think I'm here and doing this work is to encourage people to do that, and in conversation and relationship, and just it helps in both the individual and collective becoming that we are. As you said, there's so much wisdom that's in books that we can kind of glean from. So
Right.
there was a suggestion for you that I want to make sure I shout out, and that was to showcase at BlurredCon next year. Do
Okay.
you know about
Okay.
BlurredCon? Look
Never
it
heard
up.
of it.
It's huge.
Yeah.
My husband went to it. It
Okay.
was this weekend. I can actually, because I do think that he knows the person who organizes it. So I will try to loop that in. But it's really, it's a big event. And yeah, I do think that this work would situate well within that uh, conference. It's not a conference, really. It's like a Comic Con, but it's a Black Comic Con. So lots of artists,
Oh, dope.
creators, that space. And
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, and they have it, I think, every year, and it's a great turnout. It's 3 days worth
Mm,
of our culture in that space and
beautiful.
connecting people. So definitely we'll give you that. This
Okay.
has been such a thank you so much for sitting in this space,
Thanking you. I'm
um,
thanking you.
and giving up yourself.
Absolutely.
I
Thank
really have enjoyed all the ways in which I've grown in this conversation. And
mm,
I started out with like, oh, nervous, but you've left me hopeful. You've
good.
left me, you've
Good.
left me hopeful, and you've also left me with like, oh, agency and things that I can do, and being encouraged to even be more thoughtful and to take up more space.
Mhm.
Like in this space. And I think that that's really important for people who are like me, that are just, I don't know what to think about it, you know, and I don't know what to do with AI. So I'm so appreciative. Again, I think that this is a book that is, it's not a, this is a no-brainer. This is just go get it, treat yourself, and then share it with people. Again, the link to where you can get a copy of this is in the show notes below. And please connect if you want to connect. Please use the socials to make sure you connect and reach out. Thank you so much. This has been so good. I truly enjoyed our conversation tonight. You have been very gracious of your time and of your energy, and I cannot wait to the next,
Absolutely.
and the next, the next and the next. I'm gonna go back while I'm waiting to read Railroads to Robots. That's what I'm gonna read next. So I'll go back and read that. All right.
Great.
Thank you so much, everyone watching live and in the future to come. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us. And you can keep the conversation going by leaving comments. We'll be sure to respond. If there's any, I'll make sure to, make sure that you get comments that need to come your way as well. And until next time, you guys know exactly what to do. Stay sane, stay safe, and always stay reading. Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Bless.